Bring in Mr. Sal Capaccio to join us on the Western Hotline. Sal, good morning. Good to have you on. We got big news ahead of the start of the league year. I mean, a trade yesterday was very exciting as it came down, and you have your reaction to the player, reaction to the price, and then we start thinking about the fit. And to me, like that stat I just read off right there, any receiver that makes the Bills feel like they have more of that in their game, to me, is a good receiver to have on the team.
Yeah, good morning, guys. I mean, I think that this is what they've wanted, what fans have wanted, and noticed that the Bills have lacked in their offense. I think there's a bit of your clip there you played from DJ Moore and talking about Joe Brady and what we've talked about Joe Brady. There's a bit of also of okay, is it Joe Brady? Does he want to do this more? Like thinking about the screens last year, and yes, they did have some explosive plays last year. A lot of that was run after catch. Didn't see as much down the field. There were times that happened. But is it dictated by personnel? Is it dictated by Sean McDermott's game plan? Is it Joe Brady just saying, I don't want to do it? I think this offseason, since Joe Brady has been hired, we have gotten an indication that the Bills and Joe Brady want to throw the ball down the field more. I just think there's no way around recognizing that is the case. And that's a good thing, right? I think it's a good thing. I think you should want that if you're the Buffalo Bills. This player represents, I think, the biggest kind of indication of that outside, because it's actually tangible. It's not just talking about it. It's not just Joe Brady saying, I want to throw the ball down the field more. Brandon Beane saying, I got to make sure he doesn't have receivers that look like you and me, right? Like, I think this is the biggest indication that is the case.
It really feels like, Sal, like most of the pushback on the move is not really about the player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's where I stood. Like, when I first saw the news, and Rappaport also, of course, had said mid-round pick. So when we were at that point, I liked this move. I've liked the player the whole time. He's never really played with until, I guess, last year he had Caleb Williams, a top-level quarterback. Like, those numbers he put up with Joe Brady, I think Bridgewater is the guy. It really didn't become a big problem for me and others, I think, until you just saw what the price of it was.
Yeah, I saw that too at mid-round pick, and I wonder, because there was nothing else involved, just DJ Moore mid-round pick. I don't know this, but I'm speculating now that maybe they had an offer like it was just a straight up third or fourth, and then the Bears wanted more, and the Bills said, well, then you got to give us a fifth in return, right? Maybe that's what happened here. I'm not really sure. I think the compensation is a little heavy from what I would expect or thought that you would get, because I'll put it this way. If you had told me yesterday, before knowing the trade, the Bills acquired DJ Moore in a fifth-round pick, I would have said, okay, that means a better pick is going back. So it's probably at least a fourth, maybe a third.
Yeah.
So you get to a second, you're like, ooh, man, that's a bit much more than you thought. Now, that being said, this team, as much as second round pick is very valuable, they also need players like this, and they need to add to this group. And this is something that they're trying to win now, right? This is not a situation where you can wait on a second round pick for a couple of years to develop. If that's going to be a wide receiver, that might take a couple of years. Yeah, sure, rookies come in and play, but a lot of times it's 2 years, 3 years. They don't have that now.
Yeah.
They're trying to win right now. So I agree. Like, it's more than I thought it would be, and it seems like it's a bit much. But at the same time, like, this is an indication that, look, we wanted this player. We're going to put him in our lineup right now, and we got to make this deal.
Yeah, Sal, I thought it would be a clear goal for the GM to want a player he could, like, go to bed, put his head on the pillow. This guy can play in the league, right? Like, and
yes.
To me, that represents, if you want to say desperation, that's fine. I think desperation can sometimes be a good thing, and they're motivated to win now and to pay a price to do it. Like, all right, it is what it is. He sheds the notion that he does not value the position and thinks he can get by with just a bunch of guys. Like, to me, this trade sheds that. And then there are other conversations about if they build their room the best way, but at least he has kind of covered the glaring hole that he needed to cover.
Right. So two parts of this, and I'm glad you said that, Jeremy, because, like, look, you guys know you've had me on, and we've talked about this, and I've gone on with Schoten Bulldog many times, and I've said this offseason, which is I absolutely prefer bringing somebody who's been in this league and has skin in the game that's performed versus a draft pick. As exciting as a draft pick is, as much cheaper as a draft pick can be, they're just unknowns. Go get a known guy. You're not. This is, to me, this is, again, kind of 2020 revisited in a different way. 2020 was, I got to get Josh Allen a wide receiver, not a drafted guy. I got to get him a guy that knows how to play, that he can rely on. Yeah, we're in a different era now, Josh Allen, 6 years later. But now it's you got to get a guy here who can win now, who can come in here and win. We can't wait. There are too many unknowns with a rookie. They could be great. There's no doubt about it. The Vikings did that after they traded with the Bills and got Justin Jefferson. We know that. But it doesn't have to hit right away. And Keon Coleman didn't hit right away. They've gone down that road a couple of times, or maybe, with a couple of draft picks, whatever. But to me, getting a guy who can play was very important. So, yeah, if you want to land on the compensation's a little too much for you, I'm fine with that. I totally get that. Second round pick is pretty heavy price to pay, like I said, but you're getting a guy versus someone who is unknown and coming into this league. You don't know what you're going to get, the chemistry, the building that up with Josh Allen, versus a guy that the offensive coordinator / head coach knows, that worked with him, who was successful with him. And, oh, by the way, very reliable. The guy doesn't make games. He's played 17 games for 5 straight years. He's had 90 catches 3 times in his career. He's still not 30 years old. So you're getting a really good player. That part of it I agree with. And then Jeremy, this was never about this offseason to me, filling up the wide receiver depth chart in any way. It always to me was you have to get a guy that can go to the top of your depth chart. Mm-hmm. And I think he does, right? He whether you want to call him a number 1, quote unquote, wide receiver, he's certainly like the Bills' top guy in their depth chart, I think, over Khalil Shakir right now.
He's definitely their number 1. And
right.
Even beyond it's not a 1-year relationship, right, Sal? The reporting on the money about they're guaranteeing salary in 2028, you might wonder how much he has left in the tank at 29, 30, 31. But if they had signed Mike Evans, I would have thought that is all about this year, especially. Mm-hmm. This, especially with the money being included, they're expecting him to contribute for them in a big way for at least 3 years.
Right. And, as the deal was made, looking at that money, you're like, ooh, man, you're going to be this guy that's going to hurt your cap. But obviously what you guys have seen some of the reports coming out, the Bills, it looks like they can do some maneuvering here and get his salary cap down to, I think, $6 million, this year. And, they get rid of the $17 million other, money that he would have been due. And then, you have decisions to make down the road, and that's going to happen. They're going through that now with players like Dawson Knox, where, we don't know what's going to happen between now and, next Wednesday with some of these things. But the cap goes up every year. There's always levers you can pull. There's always contract extensions you can make and void years. So, yeah, the Bills aren't in a position now where they should be thinking about, necessarily 2 or 3 years, and what does it look like because we're trying to win a Super Bowl then? They're trying to win a Super Bowl now. So, that's what you do to make sure that, okay, we'll deal with that stuff later.
Yeah. Sal, how about Connor McGovern? Josh Reed yesterday reported that McGovern's representation did meet with the Bills at the Combine after he had said he had not heard from Bean. So who knows where that ultimately is. But there is the expectation that when the league year starts, he'll get a lot of attention, and maybe from the Bears, who the Bills just traded with. So, I don't know if you feel like the Bills could still leave that door open, because Josh Reed, his sources say the door is still open for McGovern.
Yeah, look, I think, as I said, I think to you guys yesterday, you wait as long as you can to keep the door open in case that things just don't go the way you thought they would, maybe by poking around and looking what else is out there. It's just challenging for the Bills to keep Connor McGovern. He's a good player. He's going to command a nice salary. The Bills have other areas where they got to spend. One of them was wide receiver. They just spent some assets. We'll see how the money goes. I believe the Bills are going to spend a lot of their free agent dollars on the defensive side to make sure that they can, shore up and figure out and help out Jim Leonard and what he wants to do. Would it stun me if, Monday we learned that the Bills, worked something out with Connor? I'd be surprised, but these things happen sometimes. Maybe both sides go, you know what, we're better off with each other than without each other, and maybe we can work something out here. I just think, to me, it's always been very, very unlikely that both McGovern and Edwards were able to come back. And look, the Bills, they draft guys, they develop guys, and this is what you do it for, because you get to a point at some point where a player just isn't going to be able to fit on your roster anymore, and you're going to have to put somebody else in. And that's why they draft young players, and that's why they drafted Cedric Van Prank-Granger. That's why they drafted Chase Lunt last year. That's why they, have Alec Anderson, and they re-signed him to a new contract. They have Ryan Vandermark, by the way, who is a restricted free agent, who, to me, that's a nice piece that you want to keep. But in order to keep him, you're going to have to tender him over, $3 million. That's pretty high. So maybe you work something out where you can keep him at a lesser rate and sign him to a lesser Alec Anderson type deal, because he's not going to be a starter. But sometimes you have to trust in the faith of building your program and the players to step right in. And this might be one of those times, because it might be just too challenging. This is not about Connor McGovern, the player. This is about Connor McGovern, the financials, and David Edwards, the financials. They're good players. The Bills like them. It's tough. So, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there had been some sort of communication in some way, shape, or form, but both sides may understand right now that it's going to be very difficult.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Thanks, Sal.
All right, guys, you got it.
Start of the league year is Wednesday. Legal tampering begins Monday. Tony Pauline, I've seen this one other place too, that people in the league think the Bills will add another receiver still via the draft or free agency. And I don't know if we should entertain the idea that could still be a big name guy. I mean, if there's a 1-year deal out there to be had for, I don't know, is Evans off the board? I feel like Evans is not there anymore. It's not really what they would be looking for.
No.
Now you're looking for the do everything guy. If you're filling out your room, you're DJ Moore on one side. It's Coleman. Are you going to run back with Coleman, or are you going to get somebody else? I don't know. But Tony Pauline reporting that the league still thinks the Bills are adding another one, whether that's free agency or the draft.
Draft seems so much more likely.
But I wouldn't really count it if it's 5th round. I know Khalil Shakir is a successful 5th rounder.
But is Tony Pauline taking the league thinking they add a receiver to mean a 5th round guy? Like, he probably would treat it as like, no, that's another asset that is meaningful.
Sure. Where does it stop being meaningful? The third?
The 3rd round.
4th still?
Well, that's me personally. Right. I would say the 3rd round.
Right. 4th round doesn't count. It does. We know it does.
But it's
there are good receivers taken in the 4th, but
before day 3 of the draft.
Sure.
That's my cutoff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't mean a good player can't come on day 3. It's just I'm not going to treat it that way the offseason you do it.
Who wants to talk about a 1st and a 3rd for Max Crosby if that's the price? You trade away your 1st, your 2nd, and your 3rd.
And your 3rd. Just not have a draft.
You want to talk about it? Pay him the contract?
Sabres trade their 1st today. Let's just not have draft picks this year.
That's what
draft picks?
That's what good teams
we do have
often do.
We do like having these draft parties, though.
Draft party.
We'll have a day 3 draft party.
Sure. 803-0550. Jeremy and Joe. Paul at 8:30. Mark Grody on the Bears. And DJ Moore at 9 here on WGR.